Your imagination is not a fanciful plaything of the mind. It is the very substance of creation, the God force moving within you. When you imagine, you are exercising the divine power that resides at the core of your being. The world you see around you, with all its conditions and circumstances, is nothing more than the outer picturing of your inner assumptions. Many of you come to me and ask, Neville, how do I change my circumstances? How do I acquire wealth, find love, restore health, or achieve success? And I tell you this, you change your world not by manipulating effects, but by changing their cause, your consciousness, your assumptions about yourself and the world. The Bible tells us, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This is not merely poetic language, it is literal truth. Your assumptions, those deep-seated beliefs that you accept as true, are continually shaping your reality. They are the unseen architects of your life experience. If you assume lack, you will experience lack. If you assume wealth, you will experience wealth. If you assume love, you will experience love. But let me be clear, I am not speaking of mere positive thinking or affirmations repeated without feeling. I am speaking of a profound psychological shift, a transformation of your entire being. When you truly assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you reimagine yourself. You step into a new state of consciousness, and in doing so, you activate the law that brings your assumption into physical manifestation. Consider the story of a man who came to me some years ago. He was destitute, unemployed, with barely enough money to feed himself. He had tried everything, sending out countless resumes, networking, even lowering his standards for acceptable work. Nothing had manifested. I told him, stop seeking employment. Instead, assume you are already gainfully employed. Feel the relief, the security, the joy of doing work you love and being well compensated for it. At first, he was skeptical. How can I feel employed when I have no job? He asked me. And I replied, the outer world is merely a shadow, a reflection of your inner assumptions. Change the assumption, and you change the reflection. I instructed him to create a scene in his imagination that implied his wish was already fulfilled. He chose to imagine himself sitting at his desk in a beautiful office, looking at his pay stub, feeling the satisfaction of his substantial salary. I told him to enter this scene every night before sleep, to feel it as real, to experience the gratitude and joy of his fulfilled desire. Within 2 weeks, he received a call from a company he had never applied to. They had heard of him through a mutual acquaintance and were interested in his skills. He was offered a position that exceeded his expectations in both responsibility and compensation. The outer circumstances rearranged themselves to match his inner assumption. Now you may be thinking, this sounds too simple. Surely there must be more to it. But I tell you, the simplicity of this law is its genius. The complexity lies in the principle, but in your willingness to let go of your attachment to the current reality that you have created through your previous assumptions. Remember, what you see now, your present circumstances, are the fruits of seeds planted in the past. They have no power to determine your future, unless you give them that power through your continued assumption that they must. The past only exists as memory. The future only exists as imagination. The only creative point is the present moment, where you can choose anew which assumptions you will live from. Let me share with you the deeper metaphysical truth behind this principle. In the Bible we read, I and my Father are one. This is not blasphemy. It is the recognition of our true identity. The Father is the I am, the pure consciousness that is the foundation of all being. When you say I am, you are invoking this creative power. Whatever you attach to I am becomes your self-definition and ultimately your experience. Most people use this power unconsciously, saying things like I am sick, I am broke, I am unlucky in love. They do not realize that these statements are creative, that they are planting seeds that must, by cosmic law, bear fruit after their kind. But you, having heard this message, can begin to use this power consciously. You can say, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved, not as an affirmation contradicting your current experience, but as an assumption from which you live your life. When you make this assumption, you must persist in it. The outer world will not change overnight. There will be a period, the gestation period, if you will weigh your new assumptions taking root in the depth of your consciousness, while the outer world still reflects your old assumptions. This is the time of faith, the time when you must hold fast to your assumption, despite the evidence of your senses. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not hoping or wishing, it is the firm conviction that what you have assumed is already yours in the realm of imagination and therefore must manifest in the outer world. Your assumption, when persisted in, becomes your faith, and your faith becomes your experience. Now, let me address something that confuses many seekers. They say, I have tried to imagine my desire fulfilled, but nothing has changed. Upon deeper inquiry, I discover that they have not truly lived from their assumption. They have visited it briefly in imagination, but returned to living from their current reality. They have not made their assumption their dwelling place. To live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire means to make it your home, your resting place, the state from which you view the world. Just as you currently live from the assumption that you are your name, your occupation, your relationship, so must you live from the assumption of your new state. Let me illustrate this with a personal experience. Many years ago, I desired to travel to New York to share these teachings, but I had no money or means such a journey from my home in Barbados. Instead of focusing on the lack, I began to assume that I was already in New York. Night after night, I would fall asleep feeling the cold of New York winter, quite different from the Caribbean climate, seeing the tall buildings, hearing the sounds of the city. Within a month, a series of unexpected events occurred that led to my passage to New York being paid for. The outer circumstances rearranged themselves to match my inner assumption. I did not make the journey happen. I simply assumed I was already there, and the means to make it so appeared naturally. This principle applies to every area of your life. Are you seeking wealth? Then assume you are wealthy now. Feel the freedom, the generosity, the security that wealth brings. Live from that assumption, and you will be amazed at how opportunities for wealth creation begin to present themselves to you. Are you seeking love? Then assume you are deeply loved now. Feel the warmth, the connection, the joy of being in a loving relationship. Live from that assumption and watch as love finds its way to you through channels you could never have planned or predicted. Are you seeking health? Then assume you are perfectly healthy now. Feel the vitality, the strength, the well-being flowing through every cell of your body. Live from that assumption and observe how your body begins to align itself with your new self-concept. The key in all of this is feeling. Your assumption must be saturated with feeling to become effective. It is not enough to say the words or visualize the images. You must feel the reality of your fulfilled desire. Feeling is the secret, the bridge between your imagination and the manifestation of your desire. Let me explain why feeling is so crucial. Consciousness has two aspects, awareness and feeling. You can be aware of something without feeling it as real. But when you combine awareness with feeling, when you not only know something intellectually but feel it emotionally, you impress that state upon your subconscious mind. And it is your subconscious mind, your deeper self, that has the power to reshape your reality according to its contents. The feeling I speak of is not emotion in the ordinary sense. It is not excitement or elation, though these may be present. The feeling I refer to is the conviction of reality, the feeling that what you are imagining is not just possible but actual. It is the difference between seeing yourself in a new home and feeling yourself living in that home, touching its walls, smelling its scents, hearing its sounds. Some of you may be wondering, but what if my desire seems impossible given my current circumstances? I say to you, nothing is impossible to the God power within you. The Bible tells us with God all things are possible. And since God is your own wonderful human imagination, all things are possible to the one who believes. Your current circumstances are irrelevant to your creative power. They are like shadows cast by a previous state of consciousness. Change the state of consciousness, and the shadows must change. This is law. Let me share another story to illustrate this point. A woman once came to me deeply in debt, with creditors hounding her daily. She was in a state of constant anxiety, seeing no way out of her financial prison. I instructed her to create a scene that implied her financial freedom. She chose to imagine herself telling a friend with a feeling of joy and relief. All my debts are paid in full. I am completely free. Each night she would enact this scene, feeling the reality of it until she fell asleep. During the day, whenever thoughts of debt arose, she would gently turn her attention to the feeling of her wish fulfilled. Within 3 months, through a series of unexpected events, including a promotion she had not applied for, and an inheritance from a distant relative she had never met, all her debts were paid in full. Did she make these specific events happen? No. She simply changed her assumption about herself and her financial state, and the universe rearranged itself to match that assumption. This is not magic, it is law. Now, some of you may be thinking, but doesn't this contradict the need for action? Shouldn't I be doing something to achieve my goals? Let me clarify this point. Action is important, but it is not the cause of your achievements. It is the result. When you change your state of consciousness by living in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, you will naturally take actions that align with that state. The man who assumes he is wealthy moves differently, speaks differently, makes different decisions than the man who assumes he is poor. His actions flow naturally from his assumption, without strain or struggle. This is why so many people fail despite taking massive action. They are taking action from a state of consciousness that contradicts their desire. Remember the biblical story of Jacob and Esau. Jacob, whose name means supplanter, covered himself in animal skins to feel like his brother Esau in order to receive his father's blessing. This is a perfect metaphor for the principle I am sharing with you. You must clothe yourself in the feeling of your wish fulfilled to receive the blessing of manifestation. The Bible is not a historical document about people who lived thousands of years ago. It is the greatest psychological text ever written, describing the workings of human consciousness and the path to manifestation. Every character in the Bible represents a state of consciousness that you can enter and embody. When the Bible says, put on the new man, it is instructing you to assume a new state of consciousness. When it says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, it is telling you to adopt the consciousness of the ideal, perfected self, the Christ within you. Christ is not a person who lived and died. Christ is a state of consciousness, the state of knowing yourself as one with God, one with the creative power of the universe. When you enter this state, you can truly say, as Jesus did, it is finished, even before the outer manifestation occurs, because in the realm of imagination where all creation begins, it is indeed finished the moment you assume it to be so. Many of you have been taught to pray by asking, by beseeching, by pleading with a God outside yourself. But I tell you, the truth, prayer is not asking, it is assuming. It is feeling yourself to be what you desire to be and giving thanks for it as though it were already manifest. This is what Jesus meant when he said, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Note the tense, believe that you have received it, past tense, not that you will receive it. This is the secret of effective prayer. You must assume the feeling of your prayer already answered, already fulfilled. When you pray in this manner, you align yourself with the creative power of the universe. You become one with the thing desired, and in that oneness, manifestation is assured. This is why Jesus also said, the kingdom of God is within you. The creative power of the manifesting power. The God power is not outside you. It is your own wonderful human imagination. Now let me address a question that often arises. What about others? Can I use this principle to change another person's behavior or feelings toward me? The answer is yes, but not in the way you might think. You cannot violate another's free will, but you can change how they appear to you by changing your assumptions about them. Everyone in your world is an aspect of your consciousness, playing the part that your assumptions have assigned to them. Change your assumptions about someone, and they must change their behavior toward you. Not because you are controlling them, but because your consciousness is creating your entire reality, including the behavior of others as they appear in your experience. Consider this story. A woman came to me in distress because her husband was cold and distant. Their marriage was on the brink of divorce. I told her to revise her assumption about her husband. Instead of seeing him as unloving, She was to assume he was deeply in love with her, attentive and affectionate. Each night before sleep, she would imagine a scene where her husband was expressing his love for her. She would feel his arms around her, hear his loving words, feel the happiness of being in a joyful marriage. During the day, she would sustain this assumption, regardless of his actual behavior. Within weeks, her husband's attitude began to change. He became more attentive, more affectionate, more loving, not because she had manipulated him, but because she had changed her own consciousness, and thus her experience of him. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. This brings me to another important aspect of living in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, the concept of revision. The past, as you perceive it, is simply memory. And memory can be revised, reimagined, recreated. When you change your memory of the past, you change the foundations upon which your present is built. Each night before sleep, take a few moments to revise the events of the day that did not align with your ideal. See them not as they happened, but as they should have happened if your desire were already fulfilled. Feel the reality of this revised version until it feels more real than what your senses recorded. For example, if you had a disagreement with a colleague, revise it. See the interaction going harmoniously, feel the satisfaction of mutual understanding and respect. If you received a disappointing financial statement, revise it. See the numbers that would delight you. Feel the relief and gratitude of financial abundance. By revising the past, you are not denying reality, you are exercising your creative power to build a new foundation for your future. Remember, time is a construct of consciousness. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal now of imagination. Change your imagination of the past, and you change the trajectory of your future. Some of you may be wondering about the timing of manifestation. How long will it take for my assumption to become my physical reality? You ask. The answer is it depends on the naturalness of your assumption. The more natural your assumption feels, the more rapidly it will manifest. This is why persisting in your assumption is so important. Each time you dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, it becomes more natural to you. Eventually it becomes your predominant state, and at that point manifestation is imminent. Remember, the outer world is time-bound, while imagination exists outside of time. There will always be an interval between your assumption and its manifestation in the physical world. This interval is not a period of uncertainty or waiting, it is a period of gestation, where the seeds of your assumption are taking root in the soil of reality. During this interval, you must maintain the faith that what is done in consciousness must appear in space and time. Do not be like those who plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing. Trust the law, just as you trust the law of gravity without constantly testing it. Now, let me address what may be the most significant obstacle successfully living in the assumption of fulfilled desire. The voice of reason, the evidence of the senses. Your senses will tell you that your assumption is false, that you are fooling yourself, that you are denying reality. The people around you, your circumstances, the entire world may seem to contradict your assumption. This is the moment of testing, the moment where your faith is tried in the fire of sensory evidence. But remember, your senses show you only the effects of past assumptions, not the reality of your current creative act. To overcome this obstacle, you must understand a profound truth. Consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. What you are conscious of having, you have. Your consciousness, not your circumstances, determines your experience. When you truly grasp this, you will no longer be swayed by the evidence of your senses. You will know that your assumption persisted in must manifest regardless of what your senses currently report. The Bible tells the story of Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den. Instead of focusing on the ferocious beasts surrounding him, he focused on the presence of God, on his safety and protection. The lions did not disappear, but their mouths were shut. They could not harm him because his consciousness was fixed on his safety, not on his peril. This is how you must be with the lions of your current circumstances. They may roar all around you, threatening to devour your dream. But if you keep your consciousness focused on the assumption of your wish fulfilled, they cannot harm you. Their mouths will be shut, and you will emerge from the den unscathed, triumphant in the manifestation of your desire. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everything you experience is a reflection of your own consciousness. Change your consciousness and you change the reflection. This is why the Bible instructs, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Your heart, your consciousness, your assumptions determines the quality and content of your life experience. Now let me share with you a technique that will help you live more consistently in the assumption of your fulfilled desire. It is the technique of I remember when. Instead of affirming that something will happen, or even that it is happening now, you place it in your past by remembering when it was not yet manifest. For example, instead of saying, I am becoming wealthy, or even I am wealthy, you say to yourself, I remember when I was struggling financially. I remember when I worried about money. That seems so long ago now that I am financially free. Feel the reality of this statement, the relief of having moved beyond financial struggle into abundance. This technique is powerful because it places your desire in your past, implying that it is already accomplished, already manifest. Your subconscious mind accepts it more readily because the statement acknowledges both your present magnificent state and your past limited state, creating a bridge between them that your mind can cross. Another powerful technique is the use of sleep to impress your assumption upon your subconscious mind. As you fall asleep, your conscious mind recedes and your subconscious mind becomes more receptive. This is why the Bible speaks so often of dreams and visions in the night as communications from God. Before you sleep, create a brief scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. It might be a friend congratulating you, a scene of you enjoying your new home, or any short scenario that naturally occur if your desire were already a reality. Feel yourself into this scene, experience it as real, and then drift off to sleep holding this feeling. Sleep is the natural door to the subconscious. As you enter sleep in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled, you are planting a seed in fertile soil. Night after night, water this seed with your attention and feeling, and soon it will break through into your waking reality as a full manifestation of your desire. Some of you may be concerned about the morality of this teaching. Is it right, you ask, to simply assume that I have what others work hard to achieve? Is this not a form of spiritual bypassing or magical thinking? Let me address this concern directly. This principle, this law of assumption, is neither moral nor immoral. It is as neutral as the law of gravity. It operates whether you are conscious of it or not. The only question is, are you using it deliberately or unconsciously? Those who work hard to achieve their goals are using the same law, but they are taking the longer path. They are assuming that hard work is the path to success, and so they experience it as such. You, understanding the law, can choose a more direct path by assuming the end, by living from the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As for whether this is magical thinking, I say to you, all thinking is magical. Your current circumstances, which you accept as reality, are the magical creation of your past thinking, your past assumptions. There is no reality outside of consciousness. The world you perceive is the world you have imagined into being through your assumptions. This teaching is not a denial of reality. It is a recognition of the true nature of reality as consciousness externalized. It is not an escape from responsibility. It is the embracing of your true responsibility as the creator of your experience. Now you may be wondering, why doesn't everyone use this law successfully if it is so simple? The answer lies in the fact that most people are not aware of the law. And even those who are often find it difficult to maintain an assumption that contradicts their sensory experience. The pull of the outer world, the evidence of the senses, is strong. This is why persistence is so crucial. You must continue to live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, despite of the evidence to the contrary. This requires discipline, focus, and a willingness to deny the evidence of the senses in favor of the truth of your imagination. Remember the biblical story of Peter walking on water. As long as he kept his focus on Jesus, the embodiment of the ideal, he could defy the laws of physics. But the moment he looked at the waves, The moment he let the evidence of the senses overtake his faith, he began to sink. This is a perfect metaphor for the practice of living in the assumption of your fulfilled desire. Keep your focus on your assumption, your imaginal act, and you can walk on the waters of life, defying what appears to be impossible. Look at the waves of current circumstances and you will sink back into the limitations of your old state. Let me also address the question of worthiness. Many of you believe you must become worthy of your desire before it can manifest. This is backwards thinking. Your worthiness is not a prerequisite for manifestation. It is a result of assuming that you already have what you desire. Think about it. How do wealthy people behave? They behave as though abundance is natural to them. How do beloved people behave? They behave as though love is their birthright. How do successful people behave? They behave as though success is inevitable. They do not become worthy and then receive their good. They assume the state of having already received, and then naturally express the qualities that you associate with worthiness. You do not need to become worthy of your desire. You need only to assume that you already have it, and you will naturally express the state of consciousness that you now think is worthy of it. This brings me to another important point: detachment. Many spiritual teachings emphasize the importance of detachment from desires. This is often misunderstood. Detachment does not mean a lack of desire or a denial of your wishes. It means detachment from the how and when of fulfillment. When you live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, you are paradoxically both fully invested in your desire and completely detached from the process of its manifestation. You are invested because you are living from the feeling of fulfillment. You are detached because you know that the outer circumstances will take care of themselves in response to your changed consciousness. This detachment allows the infinite intelligence of the universe to bring about manifestation in ways that you could never plan or predict. Often the fulfillment comes through a series of events so unexpected, so seemingly coincidental, that you can only stand in awe of the creative power of your consciousness. Let me share one more story to illustrate this principle in action. A man came to me with a desire to own a specific piece of real estate. It was a beautiful property, but it was not for sale, and the owner had refused previous offers. The property had been in the family for generations, and the owner had stated publicly that he would never sell. I instructed the man to create a scene implying that he already owned the property. He chose to imagine himself walking around the grounds, feeling the joy of possession, telling a friend, "Isn't it wonderful? This beautiful place is now mine." He practiced this imaginal act nightly for several weeks. Then he received a call from a real estate agent who was not aware of his interest in the property. The agent told him that the property had unexpectedly been listed for sale that very day. The owner had received an offer from a developer to build a commercial complex, and rather than see his family land developed in that way, he decided to sell it to someone who would preserve its beauty. Our friend was able to purchase the property at a fair price, and the owner later told him that he had felt inexplicably drawn to sell to him, as though guided by an unseen hand. The unseen hand, of course, was the creative power of consciousness, responding to the assumption of fulfilled desire. Now, as we approach the conclusion of our discussion, I want to emphasize that this principle, living in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, is not a technique to be used occasionally. It is a way of life, a continuous exercise of your creative power. Every moment of every day, you are assuming something about yourself and your world. The question is, are your assumptions aligned with your desires, or are they perpetuating conditions you wish to change? Become aware of your assumptions. Listen to your inner conversations, those habitual thoughts and beliefs that run through your mind. Are they affirming your wishes fulfilled, or are they contradicting them? Your inner conversation is your spirituality, the foundation of your life experience. Change your inner conversation to one that implies your wish is fulfilled. Instead of saying, "I am trying to improve my financial situation," say, "I remember when I struggled financially. How wonderful it is to now live in abundance." Instead of saying, "I hope to find love someday," say, I am so grateful for the deep love I share with my perfect partner. These are not affirmations or positive thinking exercises. They are new assumptions, new states of consciousness from which you view and interact with the world. As you persist in these new assumptions, they will harden into fact in your outer experience. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everyone and everything in your experience is a reflection of your own consciousness. Change your consciousness, and the reflection must change. This is law. In closing, I want to leave you with this final thought. You are not a helpless victim of circumstances. You are not at the mercy of outside forces. You are the operant power in your life experience, the author of your destiny. Through your wonderful human imagination, through your power to assume, you can transform your life in ways that may now seem impossible. You can transcend limitations, overcome obstacles, and create a life that reflects your highest ideals and deepest desires. But to do this, you must be willing to deny the evidence of your senses when it contradicts your assumption. You must be willing to persist in your imaginal act, despite all outer evidence to the contrary. You must be willing to live as though your desire were already fulfilled, already manifest. This is the great secret, the great principle that has been hidden throughout the ages. Live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, and that assumption persisted in will harden into fact in your outer world. You are the God of your universe, the creator of your reality. Use your divine power wisely, lovingly, and with the full confidence that what you assume you become. Now go forth and create magnificently. Assume the best, assume the highest, assume the most wonderful, and watch as your world transforms to match your assumption. Remember always, imagination creates reality. What you assume you become. The world is yourself pushed out. These are not mere philosophical concepts. They are practical principles that, when applied, will transform your life beyond your wildest dreams. Live from the end. Live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire. Persist until your assumption hardens into fact. This is the way, the truth, and the life. This is the path to the manifestation of your deepest desires and the realization of your highest potential. I have shared with you tonight the greatest secret in the world, that your consciousness is the only reality, that your assumptions shape your world, that what you believe yourself to be, you are. Take this knowledge and use it. Test it in the laboratory of your daily experience. Prove it to yourself by living it. And as you do, remember that the universe is infinitely plastic, constantly responding to the patterns of your consciousness. Nothing is fixed except what you believe to be fixed. Nothing is impossible except what you believe to be impossible. You are limited only by your assumptions about what is possible for you. Change those assumptions and you change your world. This is the divine gift, the creative power that has been granted to each of us. Use it consciously, use it wisely, use it lovingly, and watch as the universe rearranges itself to match your assumption of fulfilled desire. The power is within you. The kingdom is within you. The creative force of the universe flows through you. You are that force, individualized as your unique consciousness, expressing itself through your unique being. Recognize this truth. Embrace this power, live this principle. And there will be no end to the wonders you will create in your life and in the lives of all you touch. Go now in peace, in power, and in the absolute confidence that what you have assumed, what you have accepted as true in your consciousness, must and will manifest in your experience. It is done. It is finished. It is yours now, in the only reality that matters, the reality of consciousness, the reality of imagination, the reality of the I am. Live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire, and watch as the outer world reshapes itself to match the inner pattern of your consciousness. This is the law, this is the way, this is the truth that sets you free. The end of your journey is where you begin, in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, in the consciousness of your dream realized, in the feeling of your desire already yours. From that end, that assumption, that state of consciousness, all things are possible, all desires are fulfilled, all dreams are realized. Remember always, to assume a state is to experience it. Persist in your assumption, and it must harden into fact. This is not magic, it is law. Go forth now and create consciously, create magnificently, create divinely, for that is your true nature and your true purpose. That is why you are here in this world of time and space, to create, to express, to manifest the infinite potential of your divine imagination. You are the operant power, the creative force, the I am expressing itself in human form. Know this, live this, be this, and there is nothing in this world that you cannot be, do, or have. Live in the assumption of your fulfilled desire and watch as your world transforms to match the beauty, the abundance, the joy, the love, the success that you have assumed as your present reality. It is done. It is finished. It is yours now in the only moment that ever truly exists, the eternal now of consciousness, the eternal now of imagination, the eternal now of the I am. You see, my dear friends, the world of manifestation, that is the world of physical activity, is not the primary reality. It is, in fact, secondary to the world of imagination. Your imagination is the very workshop of creation, the place where all things begin. It is the source from which all that is made flows forth into being. And it is through the power of your imagination, harnessed and directed through visualization, that you can shape your reality to match your deepest desires. Now, I know that for many of you, this may seem like a radical concept. You have been taught from childhood that the world is a fixed, unyielding place, and that your role in it is largely that of a passive observer, subject to forces beyond your control. But I am here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. You are not a mere spectator in the grand theater of life, but its author, director, and star performer, all rolled into one. The technique I am about to share with you is not new. It is old as consciousness itself. It has been used by the great mystics, sages, and creators throughout history. It is the very method by which the universe itself came into being. And yet, for all its power and antiquity, it remains largely unknown or misunderstood by the vast majority of people. This technique is based on a simple yet profound principle. That which you hold in your imagination with feeling and conviction must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical experience. It is not a matter of if, but when. The only variable is the intensity of your belief and the clarity of your vision. Let us begin by understanding the nature of imagination itself. Your imagination is not, as many believe, a frivolous faculty useful only for daydreaming or entertaining idleness. It is, in fact, the very essence of your being. It is the God power within you, the creative force that shapes worlds. When you imagine, you are literally tapping into the same power that brings galaxies into being and sustains the big fabric of existence. But here's the crucial point. Your imagination operates unceasingly, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. Every moment of every day, you are using this God power to create your reality. The question is not whether you are using your imagination, but how you are using it. Are you using it consciously with purpose and direction, or are you allowing it to run wild, reflecting and magnifying your fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs? The technique I am about to share with you will enable you to harness this power consciously and deliberately. It will allow you to direct the full force of your creative imagination towards the realization of your desires. And make no mistake, my friends, when applied correctly and consistently, this technique never fails. It cannot fail, for it is based on the fundamental laws of creation itself. Now let us delve into the heart of this technique. The first step is to clearly what it is you wish to experience. This may seem obvious, but it is a step that many overlook or rush through. You must be absolutely clear about what you want. Vague wishes or general hopes will not suffice. You must be specific and detailed in your desire. Once you have clearly defined your desire, the next step is to create a scene in your imagination that implies the fulfillment of this desire. This is where many people falter, for they focus on the process of achieving their desire rather than the end result. But I tell you this, the how is not your concern. Your task is to focus solely on the end, on the feeling of your desire fulfilled. For example, let's say your desire is for a new home. Don't visualize the process of house hunting, securing a mortgage, or moving. Instead, create a scene that implies you are already living in your new home. Perhaps you are entertaining friends in your living room or waking up in your bedroom. The specific scene doesn't matter as long as it implies the fulfillment of your desire. Now here's where the real power of this technique comes into play. Once you have created your scene, you must enter into it fully. You must make it so real in your imagination that it takes on the tones of reality. You must see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, hear it. Use all your senses to make this imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. But mere visualization is not enough. The key to this technique, the element that makes it unfailingly effective, is feeling. You must feel the reality of your imagined scene. You must generate within yourself the emotions you would experience if your desire were already fulfilled. This feeling is the secret and the power of the entire operation. You see, my dear friends, in the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between what is real and what is imagined. Your subconscious mind, which is directly connected to the creative power of the universe, cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical. When you combine clear visualization with genuine, you are literally experiencing your desire in a realm that is more real, more fundamental than the physical world. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I've tried visual vision before, and it didn't work. To this I say, you have not truly visualized until you have felt the reality of your agency. Mere mental pictures are not enough. You must feel it to be real. You must generate within yourself the conviction that what you are imagining is not a future possibility, but a present fact. This is where most people falter in their attempts at manifestation. They treat their imaginal scenes as pleasant fantasies or hopeful daydreams. But I tell you this, your imaginal acts must be as real to you as any physical experience. In fact, they must be more real, for they are the cause and physical reality is merely the effect. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you desire financial abundance. Many people, when they visualize wealth, see themselves counting money or looking at a bank statement with a large balance. But these are external symbols of wealth. They do not capture the feeling of being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine a scene that implies the feeling of financial abundance. Perhaps you're sitting in a beautiful restaurant ordering whatever you desire without a second thought about the cost. Or maybe you're calmly writing a large check for a charitable cause dear to your heart, knowing that you have more than enough. Feel the peace, the security, the joy that comes with true financial abundance. Let these feelings permeate your entire being. When you can do this, when you can make your imaginal scene so real that it elicits genuine emotion, you are set in motion forces that must, by the very nature of creation, bring your desire to physical manifestation. For you see, my friends, the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. What you hold to be true in your imagination with feeling must externalize itself in your experience. Now I can sense that some of you are struggling with this concept. You're thinking, but Neville, how can my imagination change external circumstances? How can it affect other people or events beyond my control? And to this I say there are no external circumstances. There are no other people in the sense that you think of them. There is only consciousness, only imagination. This may seem like a radical statement, but I assure you it is the absolute truth. The entire universe, with all its seeming solidity and complexity, is nothing more than consciousness made visible. And your individual consciousness is not separate from the universal consciousness. It is one with it, a focal point of the infinite creative power that underlies all of existence. When you truly grasp this truth, when you internalize it and make it the foundation of your understanding, you will see that there are no limits to what you can achieve through the power of your imagination. For in reality, you are not changing external circumstances at all. You are simply shifting your consciousness. And in doing so, you shift the entire universe. Let's delve deeper into this concept, for it is crucial to understanding the full power of the technique I am sharing with you. Most people believe that their thoughts and feelings are a reaction to external circumstances. They believe that they feel happy because something good happened, or sad because something bad occurred. But I tell you this, your thoughts and feelings are not the effect of circumstances, they are the cause of them. Your consciousness is the only reality. The world you experience is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. Every person, every object, every circumstance in your life is a reflection of your own mental states. This is why two people can experience the same external event in completely different ways. It's not the event itself that determines their experience, but their consciousness. Now, I know this may be difficult to accept at first. It flies in the face of everything you've been taught about the nature of reality. But I urge you to test this principle for yourself. For when you begin to live from this understanding, you will experience a freedom and a power beyond anything you've ever known. Let's return to our technique of visualization. When you create a scene implying the fulfillment of your desire, and when you enter into that scene with full sensory vividness and genuine feeling, you are literally rearranging the entire universe. You are shifting your consciousness, and in doing so, you are shifting the reflection that is your physical reality. This is why it's so crucial to persist in your imaginal act until it takes on the tones of reality. You must continue to return to your scene, to live in it and from it, until it feels more real to you than your current physical circumstances. This is not always easy. It requires discipline and persistence. But I assure you the results are well worth the effort. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in this process. You may be thinking, surely, Neville, we must do something in the physical world to bring about our desires. And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your shift in consciousness. When you have truly impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of desire fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally taking the right actions at the right time. But, and this is crucial, you must not force action from a place of lack or need. Any action taken from the belief that you need to make your desire happen is counterproductive. It stems from a lack of faith in the creative power of your imagination. Instead, allow action to arise naturally as a result of your new state of consciousness. Remember, the world is a shadow, a reflection of your inner world. When you change the inner, the outer must change to match her. This is not wishful thinking or magical thinking. It is the fundamental law of creation. It is how the universe itself operates. Now, let me address another question that often arises when I speak of this technique. Many people ask, how long will it take for my desire to manifest? And to this I say, time is an illusion of the physical world. In the realm of imagination, where all creation takes place, there is no time. Your desire is fulfilled the moment you feel the reality of its fulfillment in your imagination. The time it takes for your desire to appear in your physical appearance depends on many factors, including the naturalness of the desire, the intensity of your feeling, and your ability to persist in the assumption of its fulfillment. But know this, the moment you have succeeded in feeling the reality of desire fulfilled, its manifestation in the physical world is assured. This brings us to another crucial aspect of this technique, detachment. Once you have impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of your desire fulfilled, you must release it. You must let go of anxiety or urgency about its manifestation. For anxiety and urgency stem from a lack of faith, from the belief that your desire is not yet yours. Instead, lie from the calm assurance that what you have experienced in imagination is now a fact. Go about your daily life from this new state of consciousness. This doesn't mean you forget about your desire. Rather, you live from the state of its fulfillment, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. This detachment is not indifference. It is supreme confidence. It is the knowing that what you have claimed in imagination is now yours in reality, and that its physical manifestation is merely a matter of time. This attitude of calm assurance is incredibly powerful. It aligns you with the creative forces of the universe and allows your desire to manifest with ease and grace. Now I want to address a common pitfall that many fall into when practicing this technique. They visualize their desire, they feel its reality, and then they look to the physical world for signs of its manifestation. When they don't see immediate results, they become discouraged and doubt the process. But I tell you this, do not judge by appearances. The physical world, being the shadow of consciousness, often takes time to reflect the changes in your imagination. Your task is to persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. Remember, your senses show you the world as it was, not as it is becoming. This persistence in the face of contrary evidence is what separates those who succeed with this technique from those who fail. It requires faith, not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Faith in the creative power of your own imagination. Faith that what you have experienced as real in your imagination must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical reality. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you are using this technique to manifest a promotion at work. You create a scene implying you have already received the promotion. Perhaps you imagine yourself sitting in your new office or receiving congratulations from your colleagues. You enter fully into this scene, making it vivid and real in your imagination. You feel the joy, the pride, the sense of accomplishment that comes with this promotion. Now, having done this, you go to work the next day. Nothing seems to have changed. Your boss doesn't mention anything about a promotion. Your colleagues treat you the same as always. This is where many people falter. They allow the evidence of their physical senses to negate their imaginal experience. But the person who understands the true power of this technique does not waver. They continue to live from the assumption that the promotion is theirs. They interact with their boss and colleagues from this new state of consciousness. They perform their work with the confidence and authority of someone in their new position. They persist in this assumption, regardless of appearances, until the physical world reshapes itself to match their inner conviction. This, my dear friends, is the true test of your faith in this technique. Can you persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled and all physical evidence that seems to contradict it? Can you remain loyal to your experience in the face of apparent failure or delay? If you can, then I assure you your success is guaranteed. For you see, this technique is not about forcing the world to bend to your will. It is about aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. It is about realizing that you are one with this power, that it flows, that is through you and as you. When you visualize this feeling, you are not sending out a request to some external force. You are awakening to the truth of who you really are, a creative force capable of shaping reality itself. Now let's delve even deeper into the mechanics of this technique. When you create your scene and enter into its full sensory vividness, you are doing something truly remarkable. You are literally creating a new memory. Your subconscious mind, which cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one, accepts this new memory as fact. This is crucial because your subconscious mind is the part of you that is directly connected to the creative power of the universe. It is the part of you that shapes your reality according to your beliefs and assumptions. By impressing a new memory upon your subconscious, you are literally reprogramming the metrics of your reality. Think about this for a moment. Every experience you've ever had, every belief you hold, every assumption you make about the nature of reality, all of these are based on memories. They are based on past experiences that have shaped your understanding of what is possible and what is not. But what if you could create new memories? Memories of experiences you desire, but have not yet had it in the physical world. This is exactly what you're doing when you use this visualization technique correctly. You are creating a new memory of your desire fulfilled, and your subconscious mind, accepting this new memory as fact, begins to reshape your reality to match it. It influences your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and even the actions of others around you, all to bring about the manifestation of your imagined experience. This is why it's so important to make your imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. The more real it feels, the more readily your subconscious mind will accept it as fact. And the more completely your subconscious accepts it, the more powerfully and rapidly it will work to bring it into physical manifestation. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, what if I can't make my imaginal scene feel real? What if I struggle to generate feeling of my desire fulfilled? To this I say, practice. Like any skill, the ability to make your imaginal scenes feel real improves with practice. Start with small things. Visualize yourself enjoying a favorite meal or receiving good news. Practice feeling the reality of these simple scenes until it becomes second nature. As you become more adept at this, you can move on to larger desires. But remember, the size of the desire is irrelevant to the creative power of your imagination. In the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between big and small desires. All are equally possible, equally real. Another powerful aspect of this technique is repetition. While a single intensely real imagination can be enough to set the fields of manifestation in motion, repeated imaginal acts can be incredibly powerful. They serve to deepen your conviction, to make your new assumption feel more and more natural. But and this is crucial, your repetitions must not stem from a sense of lack or need. You're not repeating your imaginal act because you're trying to make it happen. You're repeating it because it's enjoyable, because living from the state of your desire fulfilled is pleasurable in itself. Each repetition should deepen your feeling of naturalness, your sense that this is simply who you are and how your world is. Now let's address another important point. Some of you may be wondering about the ethics of this technique. You may be thinking, if I can manifest anything I desire, what's to stop me from using this power selfishly or to harm others? This is a profound question, and it speaks to the very nature of consciousness and creation. First, let me say this: true harm to another is impossible in the highest sense because there is no other in reality. We are all one consciousness, individualized into seemingly separate beings. What you do to another, you do to yourself. This understanding naturally leads to an ethical use of this creative power. Moreover, as you begin to use this technique and experience its results, you will find your desires naturally becoming more aligned with the highest good of all. For you will realize that your joy or fulfillment is not separate from the joy and fulfillment of others. You will find yourself naturally desiring and creating experiences that uplift and benefit not just yourself, but all of consciousness. This brings us to another crucial point, the importance of your state of being. You see, my dear friends, what you get is not always what you think you want, but always a perfect reflection of your state of being. This is why it's so important to focus on the feeling of your desire fulfilled rather than on the external symbols of circumstances. For example, if you think you want wealth because you believe it will make you feel secure and free, focus on the feeling of security and freedom rather than on specific amounts of money. For it's entirely possible to have great wealth and still feel insecure and constrained. Conversely, it's possible to feel deeply secure and free with modest means. By focusing on the state of being you desire, you open yourself to countless ways in which the universe can deliver that state to you. This understanding also helps to dissolve any sense of conflict or competition in your manifestations. You're not trying to get something at the expense of someone else. You're simply aligning yourself with the state of being you desire and allowing the infinite creativity of the universe to bring it in a way that serves the highest good of all. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to touch on one final crucial point. This technique, powerful as it is not merely a tool for getting things or achieving specific goals. It is in its deepest sense a path to self-realization. For as you practice this technique, as you experience its results, you come to a profound realization you are the creator of your reality. This realization is nothing less than an awakening to your true nature. You begin to understand that you are not a limited physical being subject to the whims of an external world. You are consciousness itself, the very substance and source of all that is. The world you experience is your consciousness made visible. As this understanding deepens, you may find your desires changing. The things you once thought would bring you fulfillment may lose their appeal. Instead, you may find yourself drawn to experiences that expand your consciousness, that allow you to express more and more of your true divine nature. This, my dear friends, is the ultimate purpose of this technique. Yes, it can bring you the things you desire in the physical world. But more importantly, it can lead you to the realization of who you truly are. It can awaken you to your own divine nature, to the limitless creative power that is your birthright. So as you go forth from here, as you begin to apply this technique in your own life, remember this, you are not merely seeking to change your circumstances. You are embarking on a journey of self-discovery. You are uncovering the truth of your own being. And in doing so, you are fulfilling the very purpose of creation itself. This is the entire universe, with all its infinite diversity and complexity, is consciousness exploring itself, experiencing itself in endless variety as a form and expression. And you in your individual life are the universe doing exactly that. Your desires, your imaginal acts, your experiences, all are the universe coming to know itself through you. As you use this technique, as you create and live from the state of your desires fulfilled, you are participating consciously in this grand adventure of creation. You are aligning yourself with the very purpose of existence. And in doing so, you open yourself to experiences of joy, fulfillment, one wonder beyond anything you may have previously imagined. So go forth, my beloved friends, and create. Use this technique with confidence and joy. Know that as you do so, you are not just changing your individual circumstances, but participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. You are fulfilling your divine purpose, expressing the infinite creative power that is your true nature. Remember always, your imagination is the God power within you. It is the creative force that shapes worlds. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and use it often. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the transformation of all of creation. And know this, as you embark on this journey, as you begin to live from the power of your imagination, you are never alone. The entire universe supports you in your creative endeavors. For your success, your joy, your fulfillment is the success, joy, and fulfillment of life itself. So visualize boldly, feel deeply, and persist faithfully. For as you do, align yourself with the very power that creates worlds. And that alignment, all things become possible. You become the conscious author of your life, the deliberate creator of your reality. This, my dear friends, is your birthright. This is your true nature. Claim it, live from it. And watch and wonder as your world transforms to match the beauty and power of your own divine imagination. Thank you, and may your journey of conscious creation be filled with joy, wonder, and the deep satisfaction of expressing your true divine nature. Remember always, you are the operant power in your world. You are the God power made manifest. Live from this truth, and all that you desire must come to pass. For such is the law of creation, and such is the power of your own wonderful human imagination. When I say God, I'm not referring to some distant deity sitting on a cloud. No, the God I speak of is the divine presence within you, your own wonderful human imagination. This God power resides in the very depths of your being, waiting to be recognized and harnessed. Many of you have come here tonight feeling burdened by worries and doubts. You carry the weight of unfulfilled desires, unresolved problems, and seemingly impossible situations. But I tell you this, the very act of worry is a misuse of your creative power. When you worry, you are imagining, yes, imagining the very things you do not want to experience. And as we know, imagination creates reality. So tonight, I invite you to embark on a grand experiment. Give your desires, your problems, your impossible situations to God, to your imagination, and then stop worrying about them. This may seem counterintuitive, even irresponsible to some of you, but I assure you it is the most powerful and effective thing you can do. Let me explain how this works. Your consciousness, your I am, is God. It is the only creative power in the universe. When you say I am, you are invoking this creative force. And whatever force that I am becomes the mold into which this creative power flows. So when you say I am worried, or I am sick, or I am broke, you are literally creating those states in your reality. But when you say I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am loved, You set in motion the creative forces that will bring these states into your experience. Now, giving it to God means turning your desire over to your imagination. It means creating a scene in your mind that implies your desire is already fulfilled. You see, your imagination does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. To your imagination, an vividly imagined is as real as an event you physically experienced. So, if you have a health concern, instead of worrying about it day and night, give it to God. Create a scene in your imagination where you are the embodiment of perfect health. Feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude of being completely well. Make this scene as vivid and as real as an event. If you're facing financial difficulties, instead of constantly fretting about bills and debts, give it to God. Imagine a scene where you are financially abundant. Feel the security, the freedom, the generosity that comes with having more than enough. Make it real in your imagination. If you're longing for a loving relationship, stop worrying about being alone. Give it to God. Create a scene where you are deeply loved and cherished. Feel the warmth, the connection, the joy of being in a fulfilling relationship. Live in that state in your imagination. The key here is to make these imaginal acts so vivid, so real, that when you open your eyes, you almost expect to see the physical manifestation right in front of you. And here's the crucial part. Once you've done this, you must stop worrying. You must have complete faith that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. This is what it means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the unfailing creative power of your own wonderful imagination. And then you are stepping back, relinquishing control, and allowing that power to work in ways that your rational mind cannot conceive. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, how can simply imagining something make it real? Let me assure you, this is not mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. Your imagination is the very workshop in which your life is shaped and formed. Everything that exists in your world was once only imagined. The clothes you're wearing, the chair you're sitting on, the building we're in, all of these were first conceived in someone's imagination before they became physical realities. Your entire life, your job, your relationships, your home, your state of health, all of it is the result of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. So when I tell you to give it to God and stop worrying, I am inviting you to put this principle to the test in your own life. I am challenging you to take whatever seems impossible in your life right now and hand it over to the God within you, your imagination. Let's take a moment to really let this sink in. Close your eyes, if you will. Take a deep breath. Now bring to mind something in your life that has been causing you worry and anxiety. Something that seems impossible to resolve or achieve. Got it? Good. Now, instead of dwelling on the problem, I want you to create a scene in your mind that implies this situation is already resolved. What would you see, hear, and feel if this impossible situation had been miraculously solved? Who would you tell? How would you celebrate? Create this scene in as much detail as you can. Make it so real that you can taste it, touch it, smell it, feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude that would accompany this realized desire. Let every cell in your body vibrate with the assumption that this is now your reality. Now open your eyes. How do you feel? Different, don't you? This is the power of giving it to God. You have just planted a seed in the fertile soil of your imagination. And like any seed, if you do not dig it up with doubt and worry, it must grow into your physical reality. This is the true meaning of faith. It's not about believing in something despite evidence to the contrary. True faith is the evidence of things not seen in the physical world, but felt and experienced as real in your imagination. When you give something to God and stop worrying, you are exercising this kind of faith. You are declaring to the universe, it's done. And then you go about your life from the assumption that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. Now I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do something to make our desires come true? And to this I say, inspired action will flow naturally from your changed state of consciousness. You see, once you have truly given your desire to God, once you have felt it as real in your imagination, you will naturally begin to think, feel, and act in accordance with that new reality. You won't have to force yourself to take action. The right actions will occur to you and you will find yourself naturally compelled to take them. This is why I emphasize the importance of the state of consciousness. Your actions are always in alignment with your dominant state of consciousness. So instead of trying to change things by sheer force or willpower, focus on changing your state of consciousness through the use of your imagination. Let me give you a personal example. Many years ago, I found myself in New York City with no money and no job prospects. The rational thing to do would have been to pound the pavement, knocking on doors and handing out resumes. But instead, I gave it to God. I imagined myself sleeping in my own apartment. I felt the comfort of the bed, the softness of the pillow. I heard the sounds of the city outside my window. I smelled the fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. I made this scene so real that when I opened my eyes, I was almost surprised to find myself still in my current circumstances. And then I stopped worrying about it. I relinquished all anxiety about my situation. I lived from the assumption that I was now a man with a comfortable home in the city. Within a week, I received a phone call from an old acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in years. He offered me a job that not only paid well, but also provided an apartment as part of the compensation. The impossible had become possible, not through my own striving, but through giving it to God and stopping the worry. This, my dear friends, is the secret I want to impart to you tonight. Give it to God and stop worrying. He will do the impossible. But remember, this God is not outside of you. It is your own wonderful human imagination. Now, some of you might be wondering, but what if what I want is truly impossible? What if it goes against the laws of nature? To this I say, who are you to decide what is possible or impossible? The history of human achievement is filled with examples of people accomplishing what was once thought impossible. Flight was once thought impossible. Space travel was once thought impossible. Instant global communication was once thought impossible. Yet here we are, living in a world where all these impossibilities are now commonplace realities. Your imagination is not bound by the so-called laws of nature. It operates in a dimension where all things are possible. When you truly give your desire to God, to your imagination, you are tapping into this limitless realm of possibility. So I urge you, do not limit yourself by deciding what is or isn't possible. Your only job is to imagine the end result you desire and to feel it as real. Let the God within you, your imagination, figure out the how. Now, let's address another common concern. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville have tried this before and it didn't work. If this is you, I want you to consider something. Did you truly give it to God? Did you really stop worrying? You see, many people think they're applying this principle when in reality, they're still holding on to their old beliefs and worries. They imagine their desire for a few minutes and then spend the rest of the day worrying about their current circumstances. This is not giving it to God. This is like planting a seed and then immediately digging it up to see if it's growing. You must have patience and unwavering faith. You must persist in the assumption that what you have imagined is now a reality, even when your physical senses tell you otherwise. Remember, the physical world is a shadow, a reflection of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. It takes time for the physical to catch up with the imaginal. But I promise you, If you truly give it to God and stop worrying, the physical must and will conform to your imaginal act. Let me share with you another principle that will help you in this practice. Your desire, once imagined as fulfilled, has no power to realize itself unless you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. So it's not enough to simply visualize what you want. You must feel it as real. You must live from the assumption that you already have what you desire. This feeling, this assumption is the secret that makes the difference between idle daydreaming and actively creating your reality. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are aligning yourself with the reality where your desire is already a fact. You are tuning your consciousness to the frequency of that reality. And like a radio tuning into a specific station, you will begin to pick up and experience the elements of that reality in your physical world. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, how can I feel something is real when all the evidence in my physical world tells me otherwise? This, my friends, is where the true test of faith comes in. You must be willing to deny the evidence of your senses. You must be bold enough to imagine and feel a reality that contradicts your current circumstances. This takes courage. It takes practice. But it is the very key to creating the life you desire. Think of it this way. Your physical senses show you what has been created by your past imaginings and assumptions. But your imagination shows you what can be, what is waiting to be made manifest through your renewed assumptions and feelings. So, when you give your desire to God, to your imagination, you are choosing to put more faith in the unseen reality of your imagination than in the seen reality for physical world. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains. This is the kind of faith that makes the impossible possible. Let's take a moment to practice this. I want you to think of something in your life that you deeply desire but have been struggling to achieve. It could be anything: better health, financial abundance, a loving relationship, a successful career. Whatever it is, bring it to mind now. Now, instead of focusing on the lack of this thing in your life, I want you to create a scene that implies you already have it. Make it as vivid and as real as you can. See it, hear it, feel it. Let every cell in your body resonate with the assumption that this is now your reality. As you do this, you may notice your mind trying to interrupt with doubts and objections. This is normal. Your rational mind, conditioned by past experiences and current circumstances, will try to pull you back to your old reality. But remember, you are more than your rational mind. You are a divine created being made in the image of God. So when these doubts arise, gently but firmly set them aside. Return your focus to the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Bask in the joy, the relief, the gratitude of having what you want. Let this feeling soak into every fiber of your being. This, my friends, is what it means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the infallible creative power of your imagination. You are relinquishing control to a higher power, the God within you. Now, here's the crucial part. Once you've done this, you must persist in this new assumption. You must live from the state of the wish fulfilled. This doesn't mean you deny your current circumstances. Rather, you acknowledge them as the shadows of past imaginings while putting more faith in your new imaginal act. This persistence is key. You see, most people give up too soon. They may imagine their desire for a day or two, and then when they don't see immediate results, they conclude that it doesn't work. But remember, creation is finished. Your imaginal act is instantly created in a dimension beyond space and time. It then begins to work its way into your three-dimensional reality. How long this takes depends on many factors, including the naturalness of the state to you and your ability to persist in your new assumption. But I promise you this: if you truly give it to God and stop worrying, If you persist in the assumption that your desire is now a fact, it must externalize itself in your world. Now I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, I've been hurt before. I've been disappointed. How can I trust in this process? And to this I say, the very fact that you can imagine it means it's possible for you. You see, you cannot desire something that is not already within you to fulfill. The desire itself is proof of your capacity to realize it. Your imagination is showing you a possibility that already exists within you. Your job is simply to bring it forth through your assumption and faith. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, do you worry about how it will grow? Do you dig it up every day to check on its progress? Of course not. You trust in the invisible processes of nature to bring forth the plant in due time. The same principle applies to the seeds you plant in your imagination. When you give your desire to God, when you plant the seed of your imaginal act, you must trust in the invisible, unfailing processes of creation to bring it forth in your physical reality. This trust, this unwavering faith, is what allows the miracle to unfold. It creates a clear channel through which your imagined reality can flow into your physical experience. Worry, doubt, and anxiety only serve to muddy this channel and delay the manifestation of your desire. So I urge you, give it to God and stop worrying. Trust in the creative power of your imagination. Have faith in the law that states whatever you assume and feel to be true must and will objectify itself in your world. Now, some of you might be wondering about the role of action in this process. You might be thinking, but Neville, surely we need to do something to make our desires come true. And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your changed state of consciousness. You see, once you have truly assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will naturally begin to think, feel, and act in accordance with that new reality. You won't have to force yourself to take action. The right actions will occur to you, and you will find yourself naturally compelled to take them. This is why I emphasize the importance of the state of consciousness. Your actions are always in alignment with your dominant state of consciousness. So instead of trying to change things by sheer force or willpower, focus on changing your state of consciousness through the use of your imagination. Let me give you another example from my own life. Years ago, I desired to travel to Barbados, but I had no money for such a trip. The rational thing would have been to start saving money, to look for better job opportunities, to perhaps even give up on the idea altogether. But instead, I gave it to God. I imagined myself in Barbados. I felt the warmth of the sun on my skin, heard the sound of the waves crashing on the shore, smelled the salt in the air. I made this scene so real that when I opened my eyes, I was almost surprised to find myself still in New York. And then I stopped worrying about how it would happen. I relinquished all anxiety about money or travel arrangements. I lived from the assumption that my trip to Barbados was a done deal. Within a matter of weeks, an opportunity presented itself that I could never have conceived of with my rational mind. A friend offered me a job that required travel to, you guessed it, Barbados. Not only was my trip fully paid for, but I was also compensated for my time there. The impossible had become possible, not through my own striving, but through giving it to God and stopping the worry. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. It is the power to create your reality through the use of your imagination. When you give your desires to God, to your imagination, and truly stop worrying, you open yourself up to infinite possibilities. You allow the creative power of the universe to work through you in ways that your limited, rational mind could never conceive. So tonight, I challenge you to put this principle to the test in your own life. Take whatever seems impossible right now, whatever has been causing you worry and anxiety, and give it to God. Create a scene in your imagination that implies your desire is already fulfilled. Feel it as real. Live from that assumption. And then let go. Stop worrying about how it will happen. Trust in the unfailing creative power of your imagination. Remember, the world is your imagination pushed out. Everything you see around you, everything you experience is a reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. By changing your imagination, by giving your desires to God and living from the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you set in motion a new chain of causation that must result in the realization of your desire. As you leave here tonight, I want you to carry with you this profound truth. You are the operant power in your world. Your imagination is God in action. When you give your desires to this God and stop worrying, you align yourself with the creative power of the universe. You open yourself up to miracles. You make the impossible possible. So go forth from here with a new understanding of your own divine nature. Know that within you lies the power to shape your reality. Use your imagination wisely and lovingly. Give your desires to God, stop worrying, and watch as the miraculous unfolds in your life. For truly with God, with your imagination, all things are possible.